Since you are a SOLIDWORKS customer, you'll probably be interested in spending 10 minutes to learn about the experience of other SOLIDWORKS customers that have been able to dramatically improve their technical documentation process. If you too want to cut down up to 40% of your technical documentation costs, then watch this presentation and then click on the links below to watch demonstrations of 3D Composer, our newest SOLIDWORKS software, and to get additional information on the product. So why should you focus on technical documentation? Because in your organization, like many other manufacturing companies, technical documentation could be one of the greatest minds for improved productivity. Over the past decade, dramatic advances in 3D CAD technology have given designers and engineers powerful tools to design better products. However, manufacturing, training, service, and marketing functions are still relying on 2D technology and are not leveraging already existing 3D data as much as they could. The way that many organizations work today is that they have spent a lot of time and money to improve their products through 3D tools and systems such as SOLIDWORKS. Once the product is complete, they move into a product documentation process before they can release their product to market. They are typically using illustration programs like CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator or any number of other tools to create some type of image or digital photograph. These techniques are detached from engineering systems, creating the problem that as the design changes, these manually created deliverables do not stay up to date with modifications to the design. They're difficult and costly to update. This creates a costly redo situation that pushes out their release to market time, impacting market share and eroding productivity. Historically, product design and documentation have occurred sequentially, with one function closely following the other. Creation of the graphical content for the documentation often requires the engineers to manually make screen captures in SOLIDWORKS, then pass along the images to the documentation people, who will then manually retouch the images in a 2D illustration program. Anytime a design changes, the whole process needs to be redone again. This lack of continuity in the 3D data is one of the main reasons why technical documentation quality usually does not match the quality of the product itself. The consequences are typically an increased time to market, because even if the product itself could be delivered, it cannot ship without the proper documentation. As a result, expensive engineering time is often spent creating high-resolution screen captures or special exploded views so the documentation can be completed. The labor costs associated with documentation creation, localization of material, and training can only keep increasing. The production of user manuals, parts lists, and product schematics is an important function of building customer satisfaction and loyalty. However, recent studies are showing that as much as 75% of the companies surveyed found that documentation fell short of customer expectation. While companies using 3D technologies for product documentation stand ahead of the crowd. Let's review some additional key findings reported by the Aberdeen Group in their recent report, the Next Generation Product Documentation Report. They researched more than 300 companies on their product documentation development in order to analyze their current processes to identify the best practices and quantify the benefits. Their recommendations are clear. Firstly, don't wait until the design is completed to start the documentation. Start the documentation as early as possible in the process so that documentation does not end up being a bottleneck that will impact time to market. Secondly, Don't use scarce engineering department resources to create illustrations for technical publication. Instead, empower technical illustrators with the capability to create 2D and 3D graphical content by themselves without having to rely on the engineering department. So on to 3D Via Composer. This is a 3D tool that can be used to create all of your graphical documentation content directly from your 3D CAD data. You can create high-resolution vector graphics in CGM or SVG formats or bitmap images. You can create exploded views, detail views, and add information such as symbols, labels, balloons, bills of materials. Because 3D Via Composer is a 3D tool, you can also create very easily real-time interactive animations that make your documentation much easier to understand, reducing the need for long paragraphs of explanation and bringing down translation costs. The typical 3D Via Composer users will be people working in product documentation groups, such as technical writers or illustrators. They usually do not have access to SolidWorks and will either recreate graphics in a 2D illustration program or rely on engineers to generate graphics in SolidWorks for them. This is a manual and time-consuming process that must be redone every time a change in the design occurs. With 3D Via Composer, updating the documentation can be done in a single click thanks to the associativity kept by 3D Via Composer with the SolidWorks files. 3D Via Composer can be used for the full range of documentation produced in an engineering company, whether it's documentation used internally, such as assembly instructions, documentation delivered with the product, such as a user manual, or any kind of other documentation, such as operating guides, training manuals, service and repair instructions, or even marketing collaterals and online spare parts catalogs. Composer helps documentation needs throughout the organization, in technical documentation, manufacturing, training and customer service, as well as sales and marketing. The ability to easily and quickly create technical illustrations and automatically keep them up to date makes it ideal for creating technical illustrations and exploded views typically found in user manuals. 3D Via Composer allows users to become extremely efficient with their current documentation and save money without dramatically changing their processes. But many more areas of the business can take advantage of 3D Via Composer's rich feature range. By implementing 3D Via Composer, you can also enhance an important internal function, the efficient creation of 3D manufacturing and assembly work instructions. Lengthy and wordy work instruction documents can easily be replaced by accurate 2D illustrations or effective real-time 3D interactive animations. The ability to provide accurate and universally comprehensible field service, maintenance and repair documentation is also critical. Using 3D Via Composer, manufacturers can create animated, graphically rich service instructions directly from SolidWorks models. 3D Via Composer is also an incredibly valuable asset for sales and marketing. With 3D Via Composer, just about anyone can transform a CAD model into a dazzling interactive 3D animation that can be used to market the product upon its release to production, rather than waiting on initial production runs. With 3D Via Composer, you can also make your online product or spare parts catalogs more exciting, dynamic and interactive while saving money at the same time. There are 4 main benefits you will enjoy by using 3D Via Composer. It will enable you to reduce your time to market and reduce your costs, while at the same time improving quality and customer satisfaction. Last but not least, by using 3D animations created in 3D Via Composer, you will get a unique differentiator that will help you stand above the crowd and win more business. Let's see what some of our customers are saying about how 3D Via Composer helped them to achieve these results. Because 3D Composer maintains an associativity between the SOLIDWORKS data and the documentation graphics, you do not have to wait for the end of the design phase to start your documentation. You can start early in the process and guarantee that the documentation will be updated any time something changes in the design, saving time and money. Using 3D Composer, Force Protection, a leading company in the defense industry in the US, has been able to reduce their documentation time from 3 months to 2 weeks only. For JTech Engineering in Sweden, reusing the SOLIDWORKS data has enabled them to generate their illustrations in a few seconds when it used to take them several hours to draw it manually in a 2D illustration program. By implementing 3D Composer, your company can realize greater accuracy, increased efficiency, and a return on investment within the first year. Aqualux, an international bathroom fixtures company in the UK, have been able to save 25 to 40% depending on the product of their documentation time. For XLAR, a leader in linear and rotary actuators in the US, the cost reduction was 40% across their product line. Reducing time to market and cost is not done at the expense of quality. On the contrary, 3D Composer enables you to create more accurate and more interactive documentation, which results in increased quality, increased customer satisfaction, and therefore increased repeat business. Beckman Coulter in the US is using 3D Composer to create all their assembly documentation. They have reduced their assembly preparation time by 50%, almost eliminated assembly errors, and therefore greatly increased their customer satisfaction. ECD, a leader in alternative energy such as solar laminates that convert sunlight into energy, needed a better way to train new personnel on equipment during the limited downtime. 3D animations created in 3D Composer was the solution for them. For many customers, 3D Composer is also a way to differentiate them from other manufacturers by offering innovative products together with impeccable documentation, and by being able to market these products much before production has started. Bretford, a company producing a whole range of office furniture in the US, has been able to gain market share by enabling their marketing teams to easily produce pre-sales animations by reusing the SOLIDWORKS CAD files. For Robert Juliat, a leading French manufacturer of lighting equipment, 3D Composer enabled the sales team to create 3D animated video of new products and to take the first orders just days after the prototypes had been validated, much before production had started. If you want to find out more about 3D Composer and how our customers are using it to reduce their product documentation time and improve their documentation quality, click on one of the links at the bottom of the screen. You'll see demonstrations, training videos, and animations created by our customers.